Welcome to another lesson as part of your 6-day mini course. Today is actually a two-part lesson. I'm going to show you how to start accepting credit cards for your online store, and I'm also going to teach you how to secure your site with SSL. And I'll explain what these things are in a little bit. But basically, this tutorial that I'm about to give is actually part of a collection of tutorials on how to set up and create your own profitable online store without any technical experience whatsoever. I'm going to teach you how to host and create your own online store without needing to know anything about computers. You'll be self-sufficient and you will own your own website. And you'll basically have this feature-rich shopping cart with which to sell your goods for free. All right, and in case you missed all the other lessons, you can actually sign up and get all of them over at mywifequitterjob.com/free. All right, so when it comes to running an online store, no matter what type of store that you run, you're going to need to be able to accept payment, and the most common type of payment is credit cards and PayPal. But unfortunately, if you try to do your own research, there's actually hundreds of options out there, so it can be actually very, very confusing. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to narrow down your choices and kind of summarize some of the most popular and most economical options that you can make so you can make an educated decision about your payment processor. All right, so the most popular options that are out there right now are PayPal, Authorize.net, and Stripe. So PayPal you probably already heard of. You basically have to accept PayPal in your store in this day and age. And the reason for that is because PayPal can actually automatically import the customer's information during checkout so that the customer doesn't have to enter anything in a form. This is extremely valuable in mobile land because when you're doing checkout on your smartphone, you really don't want to enter in a whole bunch of text. And the fact that PayPal can import all of that information directly into your phone, that makes it extremely valuable. And in fact, if you look at my online store, most of the people on mobile actually check out through PayPal. Now, the second way to accept credit cards is through Authorize.net. Now, when you're starting to do a little bit higher volumes, this ends up being the least expensive option. It takes a couple of days to get it set up and approved, and it requires regular PCI scans. And I'll talk about what PCI compliance is in a little bit. And then third option is called Stripe. And Stripe is actually the fastest way to get set up and approved, and sometimes it can happen like instantly. In terms of the rates, it's actually one of the most expensive ones, but there's no PCI scans that are required, and there's actually no monthly fee, which is really good when you're starting out because you don't want to be paying a monthly fee when you don't have that many sales to begin with. Now, I know I mentioned PCI compliance, and it turns out when you accept credit cards, there's a whole bunch of guidelines that you need to follow so that you can accept credit cards securely, otherwise you could be penalized. And basically the PCI guys, it's a standards committee, and they set forth these guidelines, and basically the more stringent parts of PCI compliance apply if you store, process, or transmit credit card data. Now, services like PayPal Pro, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and Authorize.net allow you to host your own forms, so you actually have to have your site comply with PCI compliance. But the language actually sounds kind of scary, but it's actually not as intimidating as it sounds. And your provider that you sign up for will actually walk you through the exact requirements. Usually it involves getting SSL installed on your server, which makes everything secure, making sure your antivirus is up to date, and getting quarterly PCI server scans. And what a server scan is basically this third party that kind of scans your server for vulnerabilities, and you have to pass. Now, if you're taking credit cards, but you're actually not storing them anywhere, being compliant actually isn't as intimidating as it sounds. So basically, you have to make sure you don't store credit cards on your server or in your database. Make sure you are up to date in all your antivirus and firewall software. Make sure your server is PCI compliant by getting it scanned. Make sure you're using SSL encryption. And you also have to fill out this questionnaire in regards to your credit card and security practices. And after that, you're pretty much compliant. So I wouldn't worry about this too much. As I mentioned before, one of the payment processors that you pretty much have to have is PayPal. The problem with PayPal is that PayPal, there's so many different flavors of PayPal that it actually gets pretty confusing. So I'm going to just briefly go over what the different options are and tell you which one to sign up for. So the first one is called PayPal Standard, and this option is actually obsolete, and it's definitely not recommended as your only payment processor. Now, the way PayPal Standard works is that when someone selects PayPal, the customer is actually taken off of your site to PayPal's site where they actually have to hunt and peck for the button to push so they can actually pay by credit card online. Now, the advantage of PayPal is that you don't have to worry about PCI compliance or any scans, but PayPal Standard actually does not import customer data either to make checkout faster, which makes PayPal Standard like the worst option. Now, PayPal introduced the more up-to-date version of PayPal Standard, which is called PayPal Checkout. And in this solution, which is also free, the customer data is imported to your cart, and all the other features are just like PayPal Standard. A user is taken off the site where they enter in their payment information, and then they're taken back to your site. So it's not ideal from a process and flow standpoint, but PayPal Checkout will actually import a customer's data so they don't have to actually enter it in again. And the third flavor of PayPal is called PayPal Payments Pro. And that actually carries a $30 monthly fee. And what PayPal Payments Pro is, it's essentially a payment gateway. All the credit card processing is actually done on your site. So the customer is actually never taken off the site. It's actually a really smooth checkout experience. And it's actually the most ideal checkout experience for accepting credit cards. You can customize the look and feel of your checkout. It does require PCI scans and compliance. But the good thing is that the fees are negotiable once you have a little bit of volume. And accepting credit cards through PayPal Payments Pro tends to be pretty cheap once you have a decent amount of volume. The next method is called Stripe. Now, Stripe is probably the simplest way to accept credit cards. You can get approved instantly. You don't have to worry about PCI compliance. There are no monthly fees, which is really nice. But the cost is 2.9% and 30 cents per transaction. Now, in terms of transaction costs, Stripe is probably going to be the most expensive of the bunch, and you really can't negotiate on rates until you hit like $80,000 worth of spend per month. But what's cool about Stripe is you can get going right away with no monthly fees. And the third option is called Authorize.net. And Authorize.net is probably the cheapest way to accept credit cards online once you've achieved a certain amount of volume. The application process takes a couple of days. You do have to sign up for PCI quarterly scans of your server. But the good thing about Authorize.net is that they offer flexible plans that really get a lot cheaper as you process more payment. So like Stripe, it starts out at 2.9%, but as your volume grows, you can actually pay to get an extremely low rate. So right now, for example, I'm getting a 2.2% rate, which is substantially cheaper than 2.9. And when you do as much volume as I do, you end up saving a whole lot of money on payment processing when you go with a third-party provider like Authorize.net. But I don't want to confuse you guys too much. If you guys are just getting started, go with Stripe and PayPal Checkout. Both of those options are completely free and there's no monthly fees at all. So go with those two. So now I'm going to go over a brief tutorial on how to get these two services set up with the shopping cart that we installed in the last lesson. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to log in to your WordPress backend. And if you recall from the last lesson, that was over at myonlinestoretest.com/wp-admin. And what you want to do is you want to select WooCommerce, and you want to go over to Settings. You want to go under Payments. And the first thing that you want to do is you want to set up PayPal Checkout and Stripe. And so what you need to do is you need to go to paypal.com and open an account. And then you also need to go to stripe.com and open an account. All right, and so I've actually gone ahead and did this already, so I'm just going to kind of walk you through the setup steps. All right, so let's start with Stripe first. So I'm going to click on Manage. Okay, and this part of the tutorial assumes that you've already signed up for a Stripe account. And what you're going to want to do is you want to look for your keys here. Okay, and so this is my Stripe account, and I'm just going to log in real quick. This is kind of a dummy account that I just set up for the purposes of this tutorial. But what you want to do is you want to go and click on Developers. And you want to click on API keys. And these two keys right here on your Stripe account is what you need to enter in here. Okay, there's two keys. There's a publishable key and then there's a secret key. And after you're done, you want to click Save Changes. Now to set up your PayPal, it's actually a similar process. First things first, you have to go sign up for a PayPal account. And then once you've signed up for your PayPal account, you want to click Manage. And then you want to click on this Set up or link an existing PayPal account. And it's going to ask you for your email address of your PayPal account and your password. And then you click another button and then voila, you're automatically set up. And then once you're set up, this is actually another site that I already set up Stripe and PayPal checkout for. Once you have everything set up, then your store becomes like a regular store. And once you add things to cart and you click Proceed to Checkout, the PayPal button will show up. and you'll be able to accept credit cards online, absolutely free. All right, and so those are the steps to set up your payment processor. Welcome to another lesson as part of your free 6-day mini course. Today, I'm going to show you how to set up your SSL certificate to make your server secure without any technical experience. All right, and so what exactly are we covering today? All website transactions, all e-commerce transactions, I should say, need to be secure. And so I'm going to teach you today how to set up SSL, which stands for Secure Sockets Layer, in order to encrypt transactions to and from your server. And I'm going to show you how to complete the final step of processing credit cards online. And once again, no technical experience is necessary. And actually, by signing up for SiteGround, which is the host that I recommended, the SSL certificate is free. You just really have to enable it. That's it. But I do want to define what SSL is before I get into the guts of the tutorial. Whenever someone sends their information to your server, it is important that it is encrypted so no one can look at the transaction data. So for example, credit cards must be sent to the client's computer from your server in a secure fashion, and installing SSL on your site essentially accomplishes this. I'm going to show you how to install this on your server. It's actually not that complicated, and I'm going to show you how to do it on SiteGround's control panel. So the first thing I need to do is I need you to check your emails for your SiteGround receipt, because that will tell you which link you need to press to get into the SiteGround control panel. All right, and so I'm looking for this big blue button that says go to user area, and I'm going to click on it here, and then I'm going to enter in my username, which is the username I used to sign up for SiteGround, and the password. I'm going to go on my accounts, and I'm going to click on this go to cPanel button. All right, and then I'm going to scroll down to security here, and I'm going to click on Let's Encrypt. I'm going to click on Install, and then the certificate is successfully added to the installation queue. Now this last step takes a little bit of a while to complete, but once you wait a while and your SSL certificate is installed, then you should be able to go to your site and run it in a secure fashion. So I'm just going to go over to my site, which is over at myonlinestoretest.com. And as you can see, there's a padlock there, so it's secure. This is my shop now, and I am actually ready to take transactions online. And at this point in time, your store is pretty much fully functional. It's secure, you can accept payment, and you're ready to rock. Now, if you enjoyed this free lesson, there's a whole bunch more where that came from over at mywifequitterjob.com. All you got to do is enter your email address right here, click Get Started Now, and I'll send you the full suite of free tutorials via email. Thanks for listening.